All right. It is not Thursday night, and we are here live a little bit late because Beef, how's the pool, man?
It was
Straight
great.
straight out of the pool. Casey the Beef Cregan. Uh, what'd you say? There was you and 117 wives and 6,412 kids?
That's how it felt. Yes.
JP Priester from allclemsontigers.com. JP, how's it going?
Hanging in there, man.
Hanging in there. And you told us before we went live you're traveling tomorrow, so I'm assuming you're headed up to Clemson for the big series.
I am indeed. I'm going to have to pull double duty at least one day.
So,
Softball.
so having this on Wednesday actually helped you out this week. You didn't have to call in from Doug Kingsmore or rest stop number 82 or wherever you wherever you could find to pull over. So, all right, fellas. Of course, JP Priester from allclemsontigers.com, Casey the Beef Cregan, Sluggo Podcast, he does with me. Message Board Geniuses that he does with the other two or three geniuses, and Chopping Beef, which, sorry, Zach and Jeff, but they're not geniuses on that show. Just regular old guys, which makes it a lot of fun. Tigers are 36-17, 17-10 in the ACC. They swept Virginia Tech, run ruled USC Upstate last night. 6 straight ACC series. They've gone from 2-8 in the ACC to 17-10. They're number 8 in the RBI. And JP, I heard you on your Monday live show talking about a potential national seed if things go well this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely on the table. We seeing the projections come out today. Clemson's projected as a national seed in some of these projections. D1 Baseball has them projected as a national seed as we sit here today. I think Clemson's got to win just one game to lock up a 3 seed in the ACC tournament this weekend. So, I mean, it a lot on the line for both of these teams. You know, you don't want to have North Carolina come in there and lay an egg because, I think Clemson, while they've got a hosting spot locked up, I think there is still a lot to play for this team. And, like we're talking about that national seed, you want the road to Omaha to go through the upstate. You need to take care of business this weekend.
Beef, your thoughts?
Yeah, man. It's exciting time, isn't it? I think back to when we started this mess, and we were making excuses every week. It felt like not excuses, but we were trying to justify how the team got off to such a slow start. But now we're talking national seeds. It's really exciting to think about in my old days in the '90s where that was normal. That the road to Omaha led through Clemson, or had to go through Clemson. So it's kind of nice to get that feeling again. Again, I don't know what the ceiling is, but it'd be awful nice to sit in your own bed or sleep in your own bed when if you're a Clemson baseball player.
Yeah, it's going to be. It has been a crazy and wild ride, and it's been a long time since I felt this good about Clemson baseball. Let's hope they keep it going this weekend. JP, we talked a little bit. I mentioned that they swept Virginia Tech over the weekend. Things didn't quite go as planned on the mound. They've had some good pitching the last couple of weeks. The starters, nobody went past 5 innings. I think Darden didn't get out of the second, if I remember correctly. But the bullpen stepped up big time, and the bats, Billy Bats Amick for one, but some other guys too. The bullpen and the bats stepped up big against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, the starting pitching was not what it has been over the past 5 or 6 weeks up in Blacksburg, no doubt about it. But I think it kind of gives you some insight to how well-rounded this team is. When the starting pitching's not working, the bats, kind of pick it up. The bullpen comes in, picks up the slack. We saw a lot of guys out of that bullpen step up and do work this weekend. Even on that Saturday, Ryan Ammons gets tattooed a little bit. Rob Hughes gets tattooed a little bit in that 9th inning, something we have not seen much of this season with those two guys. Tristan Smith, I think it was Tristan Smith, comes on and gets the 3rd out. He comes on in game 3, gets the 3rd out. So it's kind of showing you there's different guys they can turn to in that bullpen when you don't get what you want out of your starters. And when a guy like Darden or any Friday starter for that matter, doesn't make it out of the second inning, you're thinking, man, that's going to tax the bullpen the entire weekend. Clemson they found a way to make it work, man. We've talked about it for weeks now. These coaches tend to know which buttons to push, when to go and give a guy a hook, and it's clicking on all cylinders right now.
Well, I think we even saw some of that last night, right? I was texting with some guys last night, and it was 7-1. Upstate had the bases loaded, and he went and changed pitchers. Now, who knows? You know, it might have still been 7-1 if he'd have left the first guy in there, but it also might have been 7-5 with the momentum shifting over to Upstate, right? So he changes pitchers and only gives up the one run, and it's 7-2, and you still felt comfortable after that. You're absolutely right. They are making the moves when they need to, and as you said last week, they're not scared. If somebody's not getting it done, they're not going to stay in the game. That simple.
Yeah, we saw it. Like you said, we saw it last night a couple of times. You know, he did not hesitate to go make a move, even when, you know, you got a comfortable lead, no need and risk in giving it up. It's kind of showing off the depth in that bullpen a little bit. You know, maybe it's a little bit deeper than we were giving it credit for earlier this year.
No doubt. Beef, your take on the weekend sweep of Virginia Tech?
Oh, it was awesome. But I think I'm going to move to yesterday's game just for a second, because Coach Ron Morris, who's kind of been the color commentary guy for Clemson baseball for the entire season, former Furman coach, kind of said it perfectly last night. And it was simple. He said, this Clemson team responds. And I think he was probably talking offensively, but I think it's even kind of shown itself on the mound too. Like you get one of your guys in trouble, here comes another guy to come in and respond and say, okay, I got you. You know, it just feels like I turned to my stepson the other day when Tristan Smith came in, and I went, oh man, I don't know about this move. And that's probably the first time I said it in a while. And it was, I think, one pitch and he got out of the inning. So, I mean, it wasn't anything against Tristan Smith. I think he's been great, but in that spot, I thought, wow, you're going to give it over to a freshman. Again, we sound like broken records on this thing every week, but they're pushing the right buttons. It just, even Darden, I missed the opening of the weekend of Friday, and I was texting with you, and you said he looked like a deer in headlights, and I was like, oh God, all right, so we lose Friday night. But you got to also kind of tip your cap. That Virginia Tech team can hit, man, and they didn't quit either. They got down big, and they did not quit. So you said it, and I believe it, and I would have said it if you didn't. I don't want to see them in Durham.
JP said that. I just said I agree. Those guys were massive. They just looked like they could hit. Casey, that when we first started, Sluggo used to talk about scary hitters, and I said, well, the guy's batting 368, and he's not scary. Those I know what you mean now. Those Virginia Tech guys looked scary in the box. They looked like tall. I don't know what the right word is. They weren't massive, but they were tall and built, and they hit a few balls now. They hit a few balls for sure, and it looked like they could hit more, and as JP said, and we both agreed, we don't want to see those guys again. Speaking of guys that can mash, JP, Billy Amick, 422, 10 homers, 46 RBIs, had 5 RBIs last night, which helps his case. But the dude is mashing.
Yeah, he is just flat out getting it done. And talk about a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. You know, he was not even getting many opportunities to start the season, and now he is a key cog in that middle of that lineup. It is fun to watch this kid. He loves to jump on that first pitch. If you give him something to hit that first pitch, he tends to crush it more often than not. But he's a guy, you know, and with Caden Grice right there, you can't just pitch around him. There's so many guys in that lineup that are hitting right now. You can't pitch around this guy. You can't pitch around that guy. You know, and Billy Amick's a guy that has just been making pitchers pay for the past 6 weeks. ACC Player of the Week, made a case. He's already making his case to repeat after last night.
Now, Beef, Cam Canarella, 388, 37 RBIs, 21 stolen bases. Will Taylor, 365. Will Taylor is now hitting 365. He's mashing also. Cooper Engel at 330. I think he's been on base for 47 straight games. I think that was the number they threw out last night. Caden Grice, poor old Caden's only batting .293 with 12 homers. This team is something on offense that, I mean, with all the home runs under Monty, we haven't seen the level of actually hitting and getting on base that we're seeing from this team.
Again, I'm going to say the same things I've been saying. The consistency in the lineup has got to give these guys confidence to play every week. They know where they're going to be slotted outside of right field, where you may throw a Nathan Hall or whoever out there in right field if Ingles not catching or if Ingles catching. It's just what you're going to get, and it's just got to be a confidence builder for this team. I'm on the Billy Amick for ACC Player of the Year. I think that he's been that good. I know there's other guys, but I have my orange-colored glasses on, and I think that he's got to be at least getting votes for that position. But Cantarello, he's what did Reggie Jackson say? The straw that stirs the drink. Cantarello is the guy that gets on base. He's hitting 388. I know he was up at 400, so he's been dropped down a little bit, but he's always on base, and he's a little gnat on base. He bounces around in order to get ready, he's bouncing up and down. I mean, he's fantastic. And Will Taylor is finally looking like that first-round pick that we were told that he was. And Grice is giving you Grice stuff. He still hits the ball hard. He's not hitting for average right now, but he's still the leader on the team, whether we like it or not. Cooper Ingles, fantastic. I mean, yesterday Ben Blackwell goes deep. It's just you're getting production everywhere. And again, Ron Smith said they just respond. Upstate scores a run, Clemson scores 4. I mean, it's a really good feeling, and it's a really good baseball team. I think I finally have to admit that.
Well, that's all right. We'll take that. Yeah, I tweeted last night that Cantarello's just a baller, man. I mean, that stolen base last night, he was out by 2 feet without the old swim slide, right? But that's just, I don't know. You can't. And I think Ron Smith said it last night on the broadcast. You can't teach those things. You can't teach. I mean, you can teach a guy the swim slide, but not when to use it and not how to avoid it. He's just a natural. JP, the lineup, as we talked about last week, like the first 6, and then we got Ben Blackwell hitting home runs. First 5 or 6 in that lineup.
Riley Bertram. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're all dangerous. Anybody in that lineup, and then you got somebody like Jacob Jarrell at 9th when he plays, and he's got some power.
Yeah, Bertram is, like Beef just said, Bertram is on fire here of late too. And Will Taylor, he's not getting talked about a whole lot, but man, he has been killing it. The last 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it's been, he's upped his average about 30 points maybe. I mean, he has just been on fire. Like you just said, we are starting to see why people said he was going to be a first-round pick. I mean, he's just that talented. He's not just a good hitter, man. He's good with it. He's good in the field. He's great defensively. This lineup, top to bottom, there's no easy outs. Even Jack Crichton, the freshman, who's kind of been in and out of the lineup there in right field, he's starting to come on here of late. He got real hot weekend before last, cooled off a little bit last weekend, still had a couple hits. But, there's just no easy out in that lineup from 1 to 9 right now.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but the starting pitching struggled a little bit over the weekend. But Tristan Smith had 2 saves. Who saw that coming? They had a staff game last night against Upstate, and everybody pitched an inning, it seemed like. But the offense came through, 12 runs. They ended up run ruling Upstate, who beat Clemson earlier in the season. Now, I think they mentioned on the broadcast last night there's a lot of injuries for Upstate, and they're right around the 100 in the RPI. But that's still a good team. You can see the plays they made last night. That's still a good team and a nice midweek win for the Tigers, and just pounded their pitching staff for sure last night. All right, Beef, it's everybody's favorite time. It's your time to shine, buddy. Talk to us about North Carolina. And as you said before the show, you've convinced yourself they're the greatest team in college baseball.
North Carolina, they're 33-18, 24-12 at home, 14-11 in the ACC, led by third-year head coach Scott Forbes. This team is pretty good. They're hitting 286 as a team, 77 home runs. They're 52 of 63 on the base paths. Really led by redshirt freshman Casey Cook, 348 batting average. He's at the top of the order. However, they probably have the real ACC player of the year in Mac Horvath, who's hitting 324, 21 home runs, 61 RBIs. Oh, by the way, he's 22 of 26 in stolen bases as well. And he hits in the 4-hole. They have Vance Honeycutt as well. These are very familiar names if you watched the ACC tournament last season when Clemson got killed. He's hitting only 257 with 12 home runs, but he's 19 of 23 on the bases in steals. A couple names just to mention: Tomas Frick, he's a catcher. He's from Greenville. And Alberto Ozuna, he's a regular in the DH role. He's from Malden, so a couple local boys playing for North Carolina. On the mound, they're junior heavy. They have 3 right-handers. This is my prediction. They have 3 junior right-handers starting Friday with Connor Bovair. Connor Bovair is 5.14 ERA. He's 4-3 on the year, 68 in the 3rd innings, 53 strikeouts, not quite a strikeout an inning. He's only walked 22 guys. That's a common theme here. They don't walk a lot of batters. They're hitting 255 against Bovair on Friday. Saturday, they go with junior right-hander Max Carlson, 4-1, 5.69 ERA, 61 and 2/3 innings, 65 strikeouts, 26 walks, strikeout per inning. He's given up 14 home runs, so 1 home run an outing, and opponents are hitting 245 against him. Jake Knapp will probably round it out on Sunday. 4-point junior again, 4-3 on the year, 4.78 ERA, 52 and 2/3 innings, 52 strikeouts, 28 walks. Opponents are hitting 248 against him. Common theme again, 13 home runs against him. He started 13 games. Carlson started 11 games but 14 outings, has given 14 home runs. So I think a home run a game is average for these guys. 4.52 ERA as a team. Opponents' ERA 7.25. Not as high as Virginia Tech, but kind of says that North Carolina can hit a little bit. They have 450 strikeouts as a team. They're giving up 75 home runs as a staff, and opponents are hitting 246 against them. It's a good team. Not quite as good, I don't think, as Virginia Tech, but especially coming off a loss to Coastal Carolina in the midweek, we're going to see a hungry North Carolina team at the Doug this weekend.
Yeah.
Carlson on Thursday, Knapp on Friday, TBA on Saturday.
So they took Bovair out, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if something's wrong with him or what. That was in the release today.
See, I went to the pool instead looking at the release.
That's what you get. If I remember correctly, they're high 20s in the RPI, like 28 or so, something around there, I think. So as you said, a good team. So now I always talk about, I'm going to tell you when the games are going to be played, but always check your social media because it's college baseball, and if the wind blows strong, they will change the time too, and maybe the day also. They're scheduled right now Thursday and Friday at 6 o'clock, Saturday at noon. I think the Saturday game is on the ACC network. I think the other 2 are on the extra, where you got to look through 448 college baseball games to find Clemson. They're in time order, not alphabetical or conference or anything else. So Thursday and Friday at 6, Saturday at 1. This is a Thursday through Saturday, at least scheduled series. Series prediction. Let's start out with JP Priester. You've been on point, except last week you said 2 out of 3, I think, and Clemson swept. We'll give you a 66.7 grade.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold serve here and say 2 out of 3. I know Clemson's won 9 straight now. You don't win forever in baseball. You're bound to drop one at some point. And this is a very good North Carolina baseball team. They are also, fighting for position and in the postseason, 25th in the RPI. Lost to Coastal the other night, probably hurt them a little bit because I thought that, maybe they might have the possibility of playing their way into, the discussion of being a host, but that might be off the table now. But still a lot to play for North Carolina. Make no mistake, this team's been hot over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So I think it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. Not calling for the sweep, but I am calling for Clemson to win, their 7th straight ACC series.
You hit on something there, JP, that I think is important to all three of us as longtime Clemson baseball fans, and that is late May baseball at the Doug with a great atmosphere. That makes me so happy. Man. It just fills my heart. It's been a while.
Yeah, and you got softball regionals going on at the same time. The atmosphere might be something unlike we have seen in quite some time. Both playing at the same time, both stadiums packed. I can't wait, man. It should be fun.
Cool. Beef, you've done pretty good in your predictions the last few weeks. I think you also had 2-1 last week. What you got this week for us?
Yeah, I think this is a real good North Carolina team. I do think Virginia Tech is better than them, and Clemson was able to sweep them. But like JP said, it's baseball. A bounce here, a bounce there. You never can tell. However, ride the hot hand, right? Bring it out.
I like it.
We're going with the sweep.
Well, he got bold with the sweep week before last, and he was right. I like it.
Yeah, let's keep it going. My wife, courtesy of my wife, I texted her, bring me a broom. She brought it right out to me.
Thank you, Laura. There's your shout out. If I rolled credits at the end, I'd put Laura on there.
There you go.
Say thank you. All right. I'm not as bold as Beef. I'll say 2 out of 3 also. I'll go with JP. We will not have a show next week because the ACC tournament will be on, and nobody wants to miss a second of that. Now, if it's like last year, you won't find it on the ACC network. They'll be showing the replay of the Boston College spring football game. So who knows? You may have to go to the ACC network extra, which is anything but extra. But anyway, no show next week. But the following week, fingers crossed, we'll be here to talk about a Clemson regional, or a regional of some kind would be nice, but we prefer a Clemson regional in one of those top 8 seeds. But before we get there, Jason Priester, I heard your show last night. You were talking about recruiting in football. Is anything happening in the Clemson recruiting game right now?
Hey, we're 2 weeks away from that big official visit weekend. I know it feels a little bit quiet right now. Feels like not a lot happening, but there's some build-up leading into this thing. Going to be some big names on hand that weekend, probably about 20, somewhere 20 or so, give or take. Not quite as many as last year. Guys like, 5 stars like Mike Matthews, KJ Bolden, Edric Houston. There's going to be some talent on hand that weekend. So we'll see what happens. They had a lot of success coming off that weekend last year. First time Dabo Swinney ever did that in the summer. We'll see if they can duplicate that success this year.
Now, your show is live on Monday night. I think it's called Mondays Live. But recently, you've added a podcast. I know because I downloaded the podcast, and that's the way I listen, because Monday nights I'm usually busy with either watching the Astros with the kid or watching something with the wife. So you also have a podcast version out now.
Yeah, you can catch Monday Live right here on YouTube at All Clemson's YouTube channel. We got it, we got it in podcast version now on Spotify, if I'm not mistaken. That kind of, it happened with. I saw it. I didn't know it was. I saw it. I said, "Well, how about look at it? I got
look there." It works out great for me, JP, because I'm old and I forget you're live on Mondays.
I do too, so I'm glad I can listen too. Yeah.
It shows up.
I said, I guess I got a podcast now. She said, "What are you talking about?"
I wish it was like that for me. I got to go through all the shenanigans to get it uploaded like Beef does. Speaking of Beef, any geniuses this week you guys are talking about?
We're there's a lot of them tonight too. It's been, we thought, a little rough in the off season, but man, there's plenty of fodder on the message boards tonight. We got a couple good ones, so we're recording tonight. It'll be out on Friday.
All right, the Message Board Genius podcast. Casey and I are taking a break from Sluggo. We did like 120 shows in 122 weeks at one stretch. Take a little hiatus. We'll be back during football for some dang bad picks. All right. All right, fellas. For Jason Priester of allclemsontigers.com, Casey the Beef Cregan of Message Board Genius, and we can't forget the chopping beef. I love the chopping beef. I'm Marty Coleman. We won't talk to you next week, but we'll talk to you in 2 weeks, hopefully talking about a Clemson regional. Thank you, fellas.
Take care.